Hey, thanks for watching Rising Web Video. And today what I'm doing is I'm actually going to be showing a little bit of a fix for the 3D text. As you can see here, I have some pretty awesome 3D text. It's actually a solid, but as you can see, it doesn't really move as a normal 3D text. The reason being is that we're using what's called the Shatter Effect, which kind of gives it that extrusion here. The reason it doesn't work as normal is because you actually have to use an expression to get it to work along with the camera. So let me show you a little bit why I'm doing this here. I was watching this video here. It's by Chad and Todd Podcast. And let's just listen for a second, and he's going to show you that you can make the text 3D, but then you have to use the camera position rotation inside of the shatter, which I'll show you in just a moment why that's. I mean, it works if you just need 3D text, but if you need a whole scene that's in 3D, then this might not be what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and just watch a few seconds of this video.
Camera position. I'm going to play with Y rotation, and you will see that our text is fully 3D. 3D rendered text inside of After Effects without plugins, without gimmicks or tricks, using Shatter. Watch this.
Now, he says without gimmicks or tricks. Unfortunately, it is kind of a gimmick or a trick in this way. So what you see here is I have my expression that I've set up, and it allows me to kind of move the camera. Well, what if we didn't have that expression? Let's go ahead and take that off, and here's what you have. I'm moving the camera around, and it's not doing anything. The reason being is that this effect is actually only usable if you use the camera position. So you can see here I'm rotating the y-axis up and down, or the x-axis up and down, and you can rotate the y-axis. But if you go to use a camera, it doesn't work. So let's add another text layer here. And make that a 3D layer. You can see here it doesn't have any depth, but it moves with the camera, unlike the other text. Now what you might be thinking is, well, just make that other layer a 3D layer. Well, we can do that, but the problem is it doesn't actually make the content or the 3D depth of the text 3D. It makes the layer 3D. So you're still getting that short, or like one pixel width depth, even though the image might be in 3D. It's kind of like it's been pre-composed. So let me take that off. What I figured out we can do is use an expression. So let me pull this back up. What this is doing is it's tying your camera position to the rotation inside of Shatter. So if we turn this back on, you'll see it kind of works. Now let's go ahead and add that text layer back. There we go. And make it a 3D layer. And you'll see here, I'm going to put it kind of where this is here. And we'll see they don't really react the same. This one's spinning around. Let's reset our camera here. Transform, reset. So they're both head-on. When I spin them in 3D, the 3D text spins more kind of what you're looking for. The Rising Web text spins kind of all over the place. The reason being is that the expression isn't perfect. Now, I'm sure you can get this to work. Playing around with it, just kind of changing the dividers, things like that. I can show you here if I change this down to 2. Here we go. It actually moves much quicker. So you're still getting um, the 3D moving. It just moves much quicker. But if you, for instance, tried to have some sort of a ground in the scene, it wouldn't work because it's going to move at a different rotation than the text you have here. Just going to see if there's any way I can get this to go. Let me drop back further. No, there's just really nothing I can do to get it to change here. Bring this forward. No, there's just no way to get it to react the same way as actual 3D text. So what I did in a previous video here is you'll actually be able to see that I used an expression to make a flat layer 3D instead of using Shatter. So Shatter works if you just want to use a text, just text in 3D. This is kind of what you're looking for. You can either just use the rotation or you can use this expression. Basically what you do is you pick whip. Actually, I'll just redo it for you. So for the X rotation, go and hit Alt and click, and then you're going to pick whip the X position. So here it inserts this comp.layer camera 1 transform position 0. Now actually, to get it to work, for some reason or another, I had to change it over to 1. For some reason I had to have the X targeting the Y and the Y targeting the X. But that's just because it's crazy. I don't know. Let's see here. So what you have here is you have your position, so you can see it kind of acts like the way you want it to, but not quite. So what you do here is you take this and you put in a parentheses minus the number that's over to the left here, so 272.3 parentheses, and then to get it to move a little bit slower because it reacts much too quickly, you just divide that. You can divide it by 2, by 5, whatever you want. It'll react a little bit better, a little bit more slowly compared to everything else. Just going to play around with my numbers here for a second. I know this is an extremely exciting video so far. But basically what I want to do is I want to take the next 4 minutes to show a little bit of what you can do with an expression that'll make it so your camera works along with things like ground and you know, other objects. So it's not just text that you're working with. Oh, it's because I didn't type in another parentheses here. So let's change that. Okay, so it's minus 268.7 and divide that by 2. Yeah, see, even if you go 0, 1, it just, the whole thing doesn't work. So let's just get rid of the shatter here. And the way that was working is you had the shatter on the white solid, and actually I'll just show you here. And then you had the pattern set to custom, and it was set to the rising web layer, which is actually just a text layer that I had hidden. So here it is. Let's delete this 3D text, delete the white solid. So now what you have is you have your camera and you have some text. Let's make it 3D, and we'll reset our camera, transform, reset. Okay, so now you have text, just plain old text. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up position and alt click. Now I actually showed something very similar in the last video, but I've recently discovered it can be done even better. So what we're going to do is you're going to type in value plus and bracket 0, 0, index minus 1. So I think I did -1 times 3, something like that. But really, you just need to do -1. Now, every time you duplicate this, it's going to just take the index and -1. So now you can duplicate it as many times as you want. There we go. And then what we'll do is we'll take this top layer and give that a black border and change the actual color to white. Okay, so now what you have, if you take your camera, so you can turn around and you'll see it actually reacts just like you'd want it to. Now, it's not a solid, you still have those layers, but for the most part, once you reach here, you've got yourself a solid. So let's add a new light. It's a spotlight. The shadow darkness is set to 60%. And then, now earlier I should have set the shadows on. Let's go into material options, shadows on. And there we go. So let's go ahead and reset our camera. Scroll all the way up. I should have just done this here. Either way. So let's select our camera and transform, reset. And now you'll see when you move around this here, it's actually going to be casting the shadows on the other letters. So no need to use Shatter or anything else like that, and the camera is 100% usable inside of this effect.